Hello and welcome to the June coffee subscription tasting, where I'm tasting the 3 coffees we're sending out to all our coffee subscribers around the world. Yes, you heard it right, we do ship around the world. And now we only ship with DHL outside of Norway, so that means you actually get the coffee within 2 days. That's pretty cool. We are selecting different coffees every month. You can subscribe from 1 to 6 bags. And if you want to learn more about the subscription, go to our website. You can pause, change, stop at any time. And it means you get to taste some unique coffees that we have in our storage that we normally don't sell, or at least we don't always sell throughout our regular stock, because sometimes I purchase coffees strictly for the coffee subscription. Cool. So every month we make these videos. If it's the first time you see it, I basically taste the 3 coffees we're sending out, and if you subscribe to 1 bag, you get 1 of these coffees. If you subscribe to 3 bags, you get 1 of each coffees. And if you subscribe to 5 bags, you get 1 of each, plus 2 of the first ones and 2 of the second coffee. That's kind of how it works. Great. Summer month, June. It should be summer month in, it's July, July. This is for the July shipment. It should be a summer month, but Norway has been quite cold so far. So we're also waiting for African coffees to arrive. Because of the situation in the Red Sea, they have been a little bit delayed because the container ships don't go through the Suez Canal. They actually go from Africa to Asia and then all the way around Africa and then up to Europe. So we were expecting the first containers from Kenya to arrive in mid-June, but it's been delayed for 1 month. So hopefully next month we will, or within this month we will get them. I know for sure that the next subscription will be from Africa, so stay tuned for that. This month we have selected, or I have selected 3 coffees from our dear friends, the Caballero family in Honduras. There are 3 different coffees that they grow in 2 different areas actually, so that's a little bit interesting. The first coffee we're going to taste today is from their Catuaí variety. And Catuaí is kind of a Brazilian variety that has been developed there. And it's kind of more of the staple coffee, I would say, from the Caballeros. I think they produce many containers, containers of this coffee, because they have 150 hectares, plus they just inherited or bought out their father. So I think now in total they have close to 300 hectares of land where they grow coffee. That's a lot. And the majority of this land is planted with the Catuaí variety, which traditionally was a very popular variety in Honduras. But because of diseases like leaf rust, which is a fungal disease that attacks coffee trees, a lot of the farmers have changed the Catuaí to other types of varieties, like the Icafé 90, which is a Catimor, or other resistant varieties. So this coffee is kind of slowly disappearing from Honduras, but the Caballero family still has planted a lot of it because they're able to take good care of it, and it produces well. The trees are pretty short, and the quality is pretty good, I have to say. It's not the most fruity coffee. All coffees can't be fruity all the time. So this is more of a coffee for people who like sweetness, chocolatey notes, nutty notes, dried fruit notes, and stuff like that. So what I do every year when I visit the Caballeros, or if they send me samples, they actually produce specifically coffees for me, because we require a certain production technique when they produce coffees. Because they're quite big, they produce coffees in different ways. For most of their clients, they want, a little bit cheaper coffees. So they have to kind of think of how can they produce the coffee in a more sensible way where they can reduce labor costs and so on. So a lot of the coffees are harvested well, they pick ripe cherries and everything. And then they mechanically dry the coffees in big guardiolas. And I know Moises has been refining how it dries in the guardiolas. It's kind of like a big drum that has hot air going through. The coffee is inside, just like a coffee roaster. And because he does very, very slow drying, those coffees have become a lot better. But he didn't used to do that. And we did a drying experiment with the Caballeros many years ago, where we figured out that the same batch of coffee dried in different ways had different shelf life and also different types of flavor. And the best quality coffees were the ones dried on raised beds under shades, slowly for like 20 days. So what they do with the coffees we buy now, they actually depulp, ferment, and wash the coffees. And then they take the coffees to their house, which is in Marcala, in a town near their coffee farms, where they live. And then they have kind of African-style drying beds there, under shade, where they have people moving the coffees all the time. They're sorting a little bit of the parchment, and the coffee is drying really slow, and that means the shelf life is much better, and also the quality is much better, I think. So when I was there in March this year, I was presented, I think, around 40 different lots of the Catuaí variety. And then I cut through those in 3 rounds, and I select the best ones that is according to my taste. And then we buy those. So we bought 3 different lots, around 20 bags each. And what I look for when I buy this particular variety is that I want it to be really rich in the mouthfeel, really sweet, lingering finish. I can accept a little bit of herbal flavor because that's kind of the terroir flavor of this area, I think. But I want the coffee to be like not the highest acidity, but like really creamy, rich, chocolatey flavors, because I really enjoy drinking this coffee as espresso and also with milk, and also it's kind of that's the style of the coffee. For me, this coffee is like a chocolate cake, so I don't look for like fruit cake flavors. I look for chocolate cake flavors. Should we taste? And by the way, if you don't know how to set up a coffee cupping, we have a tutorial on YouTube how to do that. It's pretty simple. And I enjoy drinking it from a cup now because it cools down the coffee a little bit faster, and it's easy to enjoy. Oh yes. So this is definitely herbal. You'll get a kind of a green bell pepper flavor, but in a positive way, I think. It contributes with a little bit of complexity to this coffee. And it's for sure like really rich, creamy mouthfeel, and has this kind of dark chocolate flavor without being too bitter, and a little bit of nuttiness. And there is for sure some kind of fruitiness to it because it has some nice acidity, but it's not too sharp. It's quite mellow and very kind of comforting coffee to drink. Moises always says that he prefers to drink this all day long, and then he takes a cup of geisha or something in the afternoon. But this is actually the coffee we drink the most of when I visit their farms. Very uncomplicated coffee, very nice, sweet, textural. And since it's summer, you might want to brew it and cool it down, which I recommend doing, especially if you like to have a little bit of milk in the iced coffee. So I've made like a non-alcoholic cold Irish coffee with this coffee before, which tastes really good. You basically make like a little concentrated coffee, cool it down, and then have it over ice and with a layer of cream on top. That's like dessert. Really, really good. Put some sugar in it if you like, or honey. And yeah, that's one of my favorite cold drinks, actually. So the first coffee we're sending out, Catuaí from the Caballero family, it was harvested in February, January, February-ish. So I was there cupping it in March, and these are the first coffees we're getting in this year from the fresh crop. Really nice, tasty coffee. Okay, so the second coffee from the same farmers, but different variety. So this is an SL28 variety. Many of you know that from Kenya. It's one of the reasons why Kenyan coffees are so fruity. It tastes normally like blackcurrant, rose hips, hibiscus, these kind of flavors. But when you grow it in Marcala or close to Marcala in Honduras, it changes a lot. Still high quality, I think, but the flavor is completely different. Let's taste this year's SL28. I think we've sent this out before. And some years it might be a little bit more pronounced in the fruitiness. Other years it's a little bit less fruity. Let's see what it tastes like this year. Wow. Yeah, so the acidity is definitely more pronounced than the Catuaí. Very juicy, I think. Still a little bit of that herbalness that you get from the coffees from the Caballeros. And I would say on a scale from 0 to 10, the fruitiness is kind of on a 5. whereas on the Catuaí it's maybe on a 3. You can get some red fruits in this one, for sure. But I think what I like the most about this coffee is it's very kind of juicy. I get my mouth salivates when I drink it. Refreshing finish, and you do get some of those kind of purple berry notes. Now this SL28, as I said, is from Kenya. We got some seeds, located some seeds. There were seeds around in Central America, so we planted this with Moises many years ago. This must have been 2013 or something. And then ever since they have been growing a little bit in production. It's maybe not my favorite Kenyan coffee from Honduras, because they also planted some batian that is really, really tasty, I think. But it's very similar in quality. The SL28 might be a little bit less herbal than the batian, and maybe this year actually a little bit more fruity. We'll see. Yeah, super juicy. So these two coffees, the first two ones, come from more or less the same area, which is near their wet mill in La Paz, in Chinacla, La Paz, which is kind of a 30-minute drive from Marcala in the south of Honduras. And they have many different small farms around that wet mill that they own. And some of them are planted with Catuaí, some with Geisha, some with Java, some with SL28. But the microclimate is more or less the same in these two areas. And then they have bought some new land in a different area called San Isidro, where they're trying to see if they can grow good quality coffee. And Moises and Marysabel have planted a mix of varieties from that in those farms, just to see which tastes better. And these are the kind of first pickings that you're getting from those farms, so everything is mixed together. So it's more like a field blend that you get from wine. Sometimes they have different grapes in the same vineyard, and they just blend it in the field and press it. So the first two ones are single varieties. The last coffee we're sending out is a mixed variety. We call it a field blend, but it's I think it's Geisha. I think they have some Java, maybe some Batian. They definitely have SL28 there. And you can taste a little bit of everything in this cup. And every cup is slightly different. So the third coffee we call San Isidro from the Caballeros, and it's a blend of different varieties. Oh yeah. This is much more kind of delicate than the first two ones. The first one being kind of quite strong and powerful, a very big body. Second one being a little bit more elegant, juicy, more like fruity. And the third one here from San Isidro, a bit more floral, tea-like. Very elegant, quite juicy, maybe more towards stone fruit. Very subtle, has some nice florality. And super sweet coffee. So this is the first time we buy coffee from this area. We only bought 5 bags. That's how little they produce. And I think it's their first production from these farms. And I'm really curious to see what we'll bring in the future from these places, because according to Moises, the climate is completely different. Soils are a little bit different. So they want to see if they can grow some high quality varieties there. And that's why they have planted several different ones to see which performs the best. Because as a coffee farmer, when you plant a coffee tree, normally it takes 3, 4, 5 years before you can get a good yield and before you can see the quality potential. And if you only plant one variety and it doesn't work, then you have a problem. So it's always smart to plant different ones and then pick out the best ones and then replant. And that means actually from you start until you have a good production of something that really works can take up to 10 years. Because every time you plant a coffee seed, it takes 4 to 5 years before 4 to 5, ikke 40, not 45, 4 to 5 years before they start producing well and before you can see the quality potential. So that's the kind of timeline we're talking about here, and also the timeline we had with the SL28 when I gave Moises the seeds. We started planting it to see if it could work, and we have been cupping it, after the 4th year we started cupping it every year, and we do see some quality improvements year after year. And some years a little bit worse, some years it's much better. And that's just how coffee works. It's a natural product. Cool, a lot of work ahead of us, but we are getting a lot more of these nice coffees from each and every farmer that we work with. And I really hope you enjoy all of these coffees. Let me just, for the fun of it, taste the contrast between the Catuaí now. That's like eating a plate of chocolate with nuts and maybe some raisins. Wow, the contrast between these two, huge. This is much more kind of citrusy, stone fruity, floral, and this is like the complete opposite. So I like to think of flavor as color sometimes, and if you go into a candy store, you have like the brown section, which would be the chocolates and caramels. You have the yellow section, which would be like orange, lemon, maybe some peach candy. And then you have a red section, which is like strawberry, raspberry. For me, this is a brown coffee, for sure. Let's see the middle one. That would be definitely in the red candy section. And the third one, maybe like orange and yellow candy section. I hope you understand that, and I hope you enjoy the coffees. Next month we will have some very interesting coffees from Africa for sure. I can't promise which one yet, but we'll see when which container arrives the first. It's kind of a race between the two containers. So, but we are getting coffees from Kenya and Ethiopia, and we will do the very, very best we can in order to send them out for the next subscription. Enjoy the rest of the summer, and I hope to see you next time, and I hope you enjoy the coffees.